this summit is very timely as we recognize the importance of accountability in promoting good governance, trust, and transparency within our institutions.
The clock is ticking on us as the most populous black nation on earth, and one on whose shoulder the aspiration of the rest of the African continent rest. Hence, the need to continuously and effectively address the myriads of problems in our society.
As the world is developing, we're thinking of modernizing the whole thing, inculcating technology innovations into tracking. It's not easy, but it's something.
Please, a round of applause for
The Northwest region experienced the most overcrowding with an average of 129 students per class, followed by Northeast with 114 and North Central with 97 students per class. This situation highlights a critical need for intervention to meet required classroom standard size across the country.
It's the auditee that finances our job. So the standard also who pays the piper takes the tune. So now I ask a question here. What happens to the result or the report that they're going to bring? It will be a watery report.
If money is not released on time or it's not released adequately, it may not enable you to deliver to time. And knowing fully well that audit reports statutorily, they are time bound.
Staffing levels that you will have are a function of the funding that is available. And we already know that auditing is a profession. Your ability to retain and attract top-notch talent is also highly dependent on the level of autonomy that you have. And we do see that sometimes the best talents go into private sector because public institutions are not in a position to retain them. And it also acts on the motivation of those who are doing the work. So when we're thinking about financial autonomy, I think it's also good to bring in that element as a very practical implication that it has on our institution's day-to-day work.
If you have a strengthened Office of the Auditor General, this is the only institution that reports to you, that feeds you, that enables you to work. So when you strengthen this body, indirectly you are strengthening your own institution.
Without adequate civic education, many citizens are not aware of their rights, they're not aware of their responsibilities, they're not aware of their duties, they're not aware of what the government is doing or how they can even participate or contribute towards whole of society participation. And this also further reduces transparency and accountability in governance processes.
Participatory budgeting is also one way that we can ensure inclusivity at the local level, because if we have, say, a part of a budget set aside for a particular group, a marginalized group especially, to then have conversations with them around what are their area of needs for them to prioritize, and not just the blanket budgetary system that we have, that basically just every year we just go in with budgets as the leaders feel is okay by them.
Strengthening participatory governance. Firstly, I would like to say there should be feedback mechanisms. I believe that the government at all levels should be able to create easy-to-use channels for the public to be able to give their feedback. Channels such as SMS services, toll-free numbers, online portals, and etc. And secondly, I would like to say transparency in budgeting and public projects.
We need to strengthen our civil society and also the community-based organization, because even at the rural areas, you still find this people in the marginalized group belonging to one association or the other. So if we strengthen our CBOs, we will be able to get them to participate actively in governance.
I want to ask, how did Nigeria overtake China and India and became the #1 poverty destination of the world? Because India and China had social protection programs that worked. They lifted people out of poverty. But what we have done with our social protection programs is to put people into poverty. Because the people that these programs are targeted at do not have access to those things that have been put in place for us.
Inclusion one of the things that has to be done as a social protection program. Now, another thing that we need to look at is accessibility. I want to say that persons with disabilities are the most neglected, most abandoned when it comes to social protection programs.
A leader that is responsive means accountability, but I tell you, it is when you demand it that you can get it. Because transparency and all of that can only come when people are knowledgeable enough and they begin to ask. If I ask, you ask, and the other person asks, government will begin to do a lot of things. And then finally, we need to hold our National Assembly accountable. The National Assembly, the state assemblies, and even at local government level.
There should be an independent audit of the current scheme, all the social protection scheme, the NHIS, palliatives, cash transfer, school feeding programs, and then ensure that there is necessary punishment at the end of the day, because we are talking about accountability here in social protection as far as persons with disabilities are concerned. What we are using presently is what we call charity model, which is not obtainable, which is not acceptable any longer. So the deployment of the human rights model of disability.
To have an improved national security, or to strengthen the national security, we need to have a whole country or a whole community involvement or approach to addressing the security issues, rather than limiting it to the military or the police. And so what that also means is that everybody has a major role to play in introducing the use of drones and surveillance system. I mean, we can't, if a crime occurs in the US, even in South Africa, the criminals will not go scot-free. It's a matter of minutes. But here, see how many high-power people that have been killed and nothing happens. Crime will occur. It starts from our obedience as citizens.
Advocacy, because that's what we've been discussing here, how we can identify the path of least resistance in our way to these policy changes. 2 ideas. Let's focus on the quick wins. We talked here about how audit reports can be a tool for parliamentarians. Let's demonstrate that. How can we showcase that? Do we have examples? Let's focus on that. Another part is holistic. This morning we had discussions around sector-wide approaches. Let's look at accountability as a sector. And if we think about financial autonomy, it's not only the autonomy of the SAI, it's also the autonomy of Parliament, it's also the autonomy of other institutions. Let's work collectively towards that.
I think we need to also get the public involved in the process in terms of collective action. At Step Up Nigeria, I know one of the things we try to do whenever the Office of the Auditor General releases their report is we try to simplify the report into like a video that citizens can easily interact with and engage. So I think it's something that of concern. That report is a lot. I mean, an average citizen won't go through it. So how do you expect them to engage and speak to it?
The takeout that we have is that we need to improve the understanding of the function of SAIs among stakeholders. How we're going to get that done, we don't know, but something around sensitization, awareness, and maybe targeted messaging. Because there are different stakeholders. The kind of message to Parliament is different from other stakeholders. So maybe targeted messaging. Then you also talked about strategic thinking. What we as civil society have done over the last years that has not worked, can we look away from it and do something different? And see how that impacts on the ecosystem. Then the power of collective action. What kind of collective action can be taken at the audit level? We start thinking about that can trigger action from the part of the executive, because we may think that we don't have power, but we do have power. So, and that power is in the collective.